Oh boy, we got a juicy one today. Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. Now, I don't like to grift or slay anymore. I really don't do it that much. But I got to react to this stupid video by Small Gabrail of Everything Money, who consistently gives horrible financial advice. And he's doubling down on some of the worst advice that I have ever heard in my entire life. So let's go ahead and react to this video of Small Gabrail being an absolute moron, which is pretty common for him.
And I wrote back, yes, my BS statement that I hate when people say is, you need an emergency fund. And secondly, I say, your credit card should be your emergency fund. And of course, the guy literally wrote, this is the worst piece of financial advice I've ever seen. Incorrect.
Now, I've seen the finance guy on Twitter. I don't know. He's probably some dork that probably says stupid stuff too. But Paul Gabrail is 100% wrong here. You 100% need an emergency fund. But let's hear Paul out. What does he have to say about this?
And here's why. Emergency funds are for emergencies. That's it. It's not for everyday use. It's for the extreme thing that happens. Now, first off.
What? An emergency fund for an emergency? Oh my God, what a revelation.
What emergencies can happen? You lose a job, you need some expenses. You have a roof leak, you need expenses. You have a water heater go out, you need to pay for that. But if you don't have the money for that, that's what the emergency fund is for. But what people don't realize is the emergency fund takes out money from your savings, takes out money from your investing, which costs you more money down the road. Let me explain further. If you're a 25-year-old and you're making $60,000 a year, after taxes, let's call it $45,000. A 6-month of expenses emergency fund would be $21,000 in your account.
Yes, it is. Well, I didn't check the math, but I'm sure Paul got that right. But yes, depending on your life circumstances, you probably should have a 6-month emergency fund. Now, if you're 26 and you're single and you have somebody else that works in your household and you're not a homeowner and you don't have a car payment and you don't have kids, okay, maybe you only need 3 months. Or if you have a stable job or you work for the government, maybe you only need 3 months of emergency savings. But yes, in some circumstances, like if you're married and you have a car payment and you have kids and you're the only one that works and you're a homeowner, I would say yes, you need an emergency fund. And I'm going to show you why in a second, but let's keep hearing this clown out.
You need $2,000 in your account. If you're saving $6,000 a year, how long would it take you to get that emergency fund up and running? 4 years? You're taking 4 years of your savings out of the most important part of your savings. Let me show you what that leads to. In our retirement calculator, I'm going to sit here and put some numbers in here. 25 years old, retiring at 65, your current savings are zero, and you annually save $6,000. You increase your savings by 4% a year, and your annualized returns are 9%, and during retirement, you make 6%, and you expect to live to age 100, and inflation is 3.5%. Your current income, like I said, is $60,000, and you want to live on 100% of that when you retire. Now, I made all these assumptions, and I ran through them, but that's what our retirement calculator does. It doesn't just stop at retirement. It goes to the age you expect to live. I hit the generate button, and you don't have enough to retire yet. You need to save about $3,500 more per year. But at retirement, you'd have $3.5 million. Okay, fair enough. Now, like I said before, if you want your emergency fund to cover 6 months of your income, that's $22,000. Let's call it 4 years. So now instead of starting at the age of 25, you start at the age of 29 because you have to spend the first 4 years saving your emergency fund up. Let's go see how much it affects things. So remember, you have $3.5 million in the first scenario, and it still said you need to save $3,500 more per year to be able to live the rest of your life out the way you want to. I hit the generate button now. Look at how much worse it got. Now you have to save $6,000 extra per year. And at the age of 65, instead of having $3.5 million, you have $2.4 million. You lost $1.1 million. Why? Because of something that's supposed to be an emergency.
This guy is such a moron. So number one, yes, in a theoretical world where you start saving $6,000 4 years earlier when you're 25 and nothing bad ever, because nothing ever bad happens in life, right? Nothing bad ever happens in life. Theoretically, according to his numbers, he's 100% correct. But there's many ways that you can build an emergency fund. Number one, you don't need to have 6 months depending on your circumstances. Number two, you could build your emergency fund while you're also investing. Did you know you could still invest maybe in your 401k and get the match, which is a 100% return right off the bat, and then maybe put a couple $100 a month into your emergency savings? It's not as simple as, oh, I'm just going to put all my money in my emergency savings and I'm not going to invest at all until I have exactly 6 months. That's not how it freaking works, okay? His second assumption is that nothing bad happens. And I know he's going to address this. If something bad happens, guess what you're going to have to do, ladies? All those stonks that you were buying because you don't have any emergency savings, what are you going to have to do with those stonks? Oh, you're going to have to sell them. And when do emergencies tend to happen? When you don't want them to happen, at the worst possible time. When do people lose their jobs? Oh, during recessions. What happens during recessions? Oh, stonks go down. So you lose your job during a recession. The stonk market goes down because we're in a recession. And you don't have any emergency savings. You just have a credit card, which you quickly max out because you don't have a freaking job anymore. And then guess what? You're going to have to sell your stocks at a freaking loss. You may even have to start dipping into your retirement accounts. Now, I looked up some statistics. Okay, I used Google AI. It's actually pretty nice. The average duration of unemployment in the United States is currently 20 weeks. That's 5 months of unemployment. Think about your monthly expenses. And if you had nothing but a credit card to pay off your monthly expenses, you would quickly max out the credit card, which, oh, by the way, is, 24% on average, it looks like, according to this Lending Tree article. You'd max out your credit card, and then you'd have to start selling investments during a bear market. This is when you would go unemployed, is during a recession. This guy is so stupid. And what's going to happen to your long-term returns? Oh, it's going to 9% compounded forever to the year, and everything's going to go well, and you're never going to have to use your emergency fund. You're going to get absolutely shellacked having to sell your investments at a loss. So yes, you need an emergency fund.
I don't understand this. I don't think people... Now, guess what, guys? I'm talking purely financial. If emotionally you need to have that emergency fund, then go do it. But I want you to understand the cost to you. You're going to have $1 million less in retirement, and you have to save a lot more money at the end of the day. That's the big thing.
Yeah, you'll save money when you have to sell your stocks at a loss and max out your credit card that has 24% interest.
You have to double your savings, all for an emergency fund. Now, what do I suggest instead? Credit card. Have a high limit credit card and don't use it except for one transaction a month to pay a utility bill to keep it active. And guess what? If an emergency happens, absolutely swipe that card and stop saving so you can pay off that emergency credit card and go on your way. That's way better than saving that emergency fund that's supposed to be rare. Here's a news flash. Our typical viewer is over the age of 25 and a college graduate. What's the unemployment rate for those people? Here is the St. Louis Fed website. Going back to 2000, unemployment rate for college graduates over the age of 25. The highest it got here was 6%. This is COVID. It's currently at 2.6%. It hit a low before COVID of under 2%. You're not going to get unemployed. And guess what?
Well, first of all, he uses past data that says nothing about the future. And number two, you could be one of the people that is unemployed. Anybody can become unemployed at a time. And the one time that you do, guess what happens? You get your ass clapped, okay? You don't need to put $6,000 a year into your emergency fund and do nothing else. You can get your 401k match. Maybe you can split it 60-40, however you want to freaking do it. But you need to slowly build it up because the one time that you need it, if you don't have an emergency fund, you will get shellacked. And I personally have one. And guess what? It's sitting in a money market getting 5% per year now. Like, oh my God, I'm losing so much money. Oh, but if my investments just grew forever and I just had big expenses, well, I would just max out my credit card. Ooh.
Well, guys, everybody has family and friends. If a good friend of mine or a family member of mine came to me and said, Paul, I just hit a bad patch. Can I borrow a couple $1,000 to do our water heater? Of course I would do it, especially if they're a family of mine.
The average American, according to what I've heard, only has $400 in savings. Yeah, your family's going to bail you out. Well, if they do, your family's probably going to go into debt as well. But yeah, just trust your family, bro.
Absolutely, that's what family's for. But you know what you're not doing? You're hurting your family by taking away that $1 million extra out of your account because now you go to your kids and rely on your kids when you don't have enough money for retirement. Look at our...
What the hell is this guy talking about? He's making it seem like you're just completely being massively irresponsible by not investing every dime and maxing out your credit cards. How are you helping your kids? How are you screwing your family? It's such a weird thing that he's doing here. I don't, like, this is not like, you know, buying clown stocks. You know, this is not like a big deal. Like, this is common sense. Have an emergency fund. Doesn't have to be 6 months. It could be 3 months. Fund it over time. But you need to build it up. You're not screwing your family. I've had big expenses in my life. Massive expenses come up. And it comes up randomly. And I've never had to sell my stocks. Because the one time you do, that is what is really going to hurt your long-term returns.
Our analysis here. On this analysis, you run out of money by the age of 79.
See this property I'm sitting in right now? It's an Airbnb that's projected to make me $120,000.
Imagine that, having 2.4 million.
Oh my God, you're going to have only 2.4 million in retirement and you're just going to run out of money. Nobody has 2.4 billion in retirement. Oh my God.
In your account. and you run out of money at the age of 79. What would you rather do? So yeah, tell me it's bad financial advice. Fine, but it's not bad financial advice. Is it bad emotional advice? Maybe so. And there is a difference between the two. But it's absolutely terrible to tell people they have to have an emergency fund. I've literally never had a person tell me, thank God I had an emergency fund. Never had that, and I don't have all rich friends. But it's so
Yes, you do, you loser.
unlikely, but we're preparing people. We don't understand that cost. That's what, but it's been so accepted in history. Oh, you gotta have an emergency fund. It's so cliche and overused. It drives me nuts. And the entire Twitter community, the FinTwits or whatever you want to call them, all sit there and talk about emergency funds.
He's so passionate. I don't understand why he hates emergency funds. He's a spoiled rich kid that could just get money on a dime from anywhere. This is not good advice for the average young person who's in the workforce, just starting their career and could potentially get laid off at any time. Guess what? You're going to need it. Once again, this guy is just an absolute idiot. Okay, he's a clown. He's a rich kid. He's Richie Rich. He doesn't know anything. But you know what? Listen to Paul. You know, I have an emergency fund. I'm just an idiot. I'm screwing my family by having my savings away in an account. I'm just such a terrible father, even though I'm maxing my tax advantage accounts and funding their 529s and all that stuff and living below. I'm just screwing my family. What an idiot. All right, have a wonderful day.